So the figures here are actually going to go down. The right figures that you're stating here for the 01 or the 2000 issue will actually go down.
Yes.
Okay.
The interest.
So
But
in other
doesn't
words,
the
we had the
interest
approval from local finance board to do the refunding, but the market turned and we didn't have the 3% savings, so we didn't do it. Now the market is turned around. The gentleman who was proposed the refunding,
The November
obviously kept
proposal,
the rest
yeah.
of it, came back to the governing body and said, the savings is there, we have the 3% savings.
Paperwork was ready to go. and
We did that in
Do it.
December.
Yes.
November?
Yeah.
Okay.
December, yeah.
okay.
So these principal payments are accurate as per that refunding?
No,
Your
principal
refund.
payments don't reflect the refunding because that hasn't been voted upon. The principal payments,
I thought you said at the beginning that this was notwithstanding of the refunding that we just did.
No, this is the existing debt excluding the refunding issue.
This is the bands.
Just the bands.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that if you do the refunding, the principal payments are gonna be replaced.
And your
So these
numbers are
2,000
going to change.
They're gonna change, but the interest
Okay.
rate on the 2,000 bonds are actually gonna go
Okay.
down a point in 15.
Right.
So, I mean, there'll be a savings there, just the principal payments are not gonna be the same.
So in fact, the shorter bonds will actually be increased. Those maturities will be increased, which will affect the level
The
versus
dollar
the
values will
wraparound.
change yet, but that doesn't start until 2010.
What I'm saying is versus the level, you're going to have a higher principal balance due, which will
Correct.
probably affect the tax points, as
Correct.
opposed to the wraparound, which if you put it back, you'll have more of the impact to be in the back end.
In the back end.
So it does make a difference as far as the refunding principal balance versus, I mean, the interest payment being what it may.
Yeah.
The principal charge is going to be higher.
Yes, that's correct. The only advantage, again, to the wraparound is that you're gonna pay more interest, but you're gonna defer that towards the end, the principal payments where they jump up, and you try to keep your debt service at a more manageable level, keel. If you go for just the savings throughout the issue, obviously, the level principal payment is the way you'd wanna go.
To save $362,000.
To save $362,000 over 20 years.
But it's not like in the beginning, you're getting a great gain here. It's pretty much
One
the
point
same.
is what it pretty much is. for-
Yeah, it's basically a point.
One tax point differential. Because I think, I'm not familiar with the refunding program, to be honest with you, other than I think I remember it was like about a $17,000 net savings in the first year. And that went over the life of the refunding issue to a total of $127,000.
Goes down to like
So
2.
tax-wise, on the refunding issue, be a minimal impact, but obviously it's still nice to save $127,000.
Yep.
So Chris, you would recommend the page 3?
I'm just philosophically opposed to any type of variable rate. I'd rather know what our debt is, keep it level, and save on interest payments. That's my personal feeling.
Is that what it is, a variable rate, or is it?
And when I say it's a variable payment.
Variable
it's a
payment,
It's
yeah.
basically ballooning the payment up through the years. I mean, that's essentially what it
Well,
is.
it's just stepping it up a little bit. It looks like the first few years.
Anything that
it's
saves
level,
us-
And then we go higher in the,
It's roughly $18,000 a year savings. It's a little bit more than that, but $18,000 a year in interest payments we'd be saving by doing the level principal. Based on these schedules, it could be more
Right.
if interest rates are higher,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
Right.
and they likely will be.
what do you guys think about that?
And what we would tell bond counsel also, or recommend to bond counsel, like Councilman pointed out, as far as refunding, we'd also put a call feature in the new issue, so that, again, let's just say they're at 5%, and the rates drop down to 3.5% or 4% again, we
Right.
would have the ability to refund that again also.
What's the price of the call feature, do you know?
It varies. Most of the times, I think it's after 10 years, it's like 102, 101, and then 100. It's generally around 9, 10 years.
In terms of the interest rate?
We're losing.
In terms of the interest rate, how much do we pay extra in interest to make those callable? We're in a relatively low interest rate environment,
Yes.
so the
We
call
are.
may not be
Our bond rating
desirable.
is pretty good, but I really couldn't give you that number, to be honest.
That's significant, okay.
Did you know if bond counsel recommend these be insured or not?
What we normally do when we have a sale in the municipalities that we represent is that what we do is we call various insurance companies. We have the issue qualified for insurance, and then we let the bidder decide as to whether he wants to buy the insurance or not. Obviously, it's reflected in the interest rate that we get, but we don't have to make a direct payment for the insurance.
All right, do we have any more questions for our auditors? You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to open it up to the public if anybody else has questions about this to the auditors. Anybody interested in, any questions? Any
Come on, it's an
financial
exciting
experts out there?
topic here. Come on.
All right. Carl, you want to ask a question?
Actually, it's not.
Carl Schlegel, Sterling, New Jersey. It's not so much a question, it's just as you were discussing it, I just think that you need to think about it from a few different perspectives. One of the perspectives is that, yes, it's $360,000 over 20 years, and as Chris Collins said, it's $18,000 this year. But if the taxpayer this year is, you also have to look at cost, COLA over the 20-year period in terms of what's the cost of money over a 20-year period. What does it grow at? So in other words, what I'm saying is that really over a 20-year period, you're not, in today's dollars, you're not saving $360,000.
The present
Okay,
value
so
of that money.
the present value, that's
Right.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You're not saving $360,000. And then the second thing is that if the taxpayer pays less this year, okay, not that they're going to take that money and put it away, but suppose they did put it away, what does that, add to their way of life?
Right.
So if you take, I'm not making a recommendation one way or the other.
Oh, come on, Carl.
What I'm just saying is that you have, there's other factors there involved besides the fact of saving $360 over 20 years that you could actually be benefiting the taxpayers more this year.
I think you made a great point. Absolutely. What do you guys have to say about that?
Well, I mean, he's right as far as present value is concerned, but
Did you do a present value calculation and incorporate that into the differences between the level and the
Probably
wrapper?
about 240 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
and also.
Just off the top of your head, what would you think? Is Chris more or less on point?
He's probably more correct than I would be, because I think that's what he does.
Is that right, Chris?
But also,
But also, don't forget, these tax points that we're talking about, again, are based on the 2006 valuations. Hopefully, if the community continues to grow, the valuations are also going to grow, that will also have an impact on the tax rate.
Yeah.
And something to consider, I think it's very easy in government to say, let's make it lower today, for exactly some of the points that Mr. Schlegel brought up, which I appreciate, but then we run into more budget problems down the road. And the reality is, based on the interest rate environment of today, for us to be able to refinance these notes within the finance board regulations is very unlikely.
Yes. Right.
So, I just don't think it makes sense to
And-
create a larger amount of debt down the road to save us money.
and
today.
also, if the interest rates are higher, this figure's actually gonna be higher as well
Yes.
when we go, so.
Correct.
We have one more. Thank you, Mr. Schlegel, by the way.
Chris Connor, Millington. This is really a follow-up to Carl's comments, but focusing only in the years 2008 and 2009, and looking at the difference in tax collection on those 2 years. If you only look at those 2 years, you find out in 2008, the wraparound, you will collect $115,000 less in taxes, and in 2009, you'll collect $120,000 left in taxes. I think when you look at those numbers, you need to ask yourself a question, that we currently have a problem facing us with a lot of expenses coming up in 2007 and 2008, one of which is having to take over all of the funding for the pensions, which will terminate, I'm sure, by the 2009 budget. So this is one way to take a little over $100,000 each year and have money available for increases that will not occur because of statutes. So I think you need to take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to?